Do you remember this camera? A couple of videos ago I talked to you about the issues I've been having with my Mamiya C33. Since then I have dropped it off at my local film lab, aka this guy, who gladly took a look at it. The easiest problem to fix was the light ceiling. Then we tried to check the focusing by using some tracing paper in the back and comparing it to the view from the waist level viewfinder. The focusing seemed okay, so maybe it's just a matter of using a smaller aperture when unsure of the focus. When shooting medium format, the area in focus can be razor thin, so it's difficult to say if there's really an issue with the camera or the lens, or if it's just me. Then, for the biggest problem, we had to open up the camera. The shutter button kept getting stuck, and the culprit turned out to be a tiny wheel underneath another wheel that over time accumulated grease and wouldn't turn anymore at the right moment. But I'll let Gregory explain.
And now it's kind of blocking this thing, because what these teeth do is that they are actually preventing this latch from going there. If you don't have the tooth, it goes up and it blocks the mechanism. So now it's not blocked and it's regular. And you see, I will do it again, like the lower one, and click. But if it was lubricated properly, it would go directly. Actually, you don't have a delay.
So with its new light ceiling and the proper lubrication, it was time to test out the Mamiya. And the timing couldn't have been better, as spring suddenly arrived in France. Back when I was living in Belgium, I used to go to this forest called the Hallerbos, which was filled with bluebells every single year, but also filled with photographers. When I moved to France, I was sad to not be able to go there anymore and take photos, but then we actually found a similar forest right here in France, about 30 minutes from where we live, and just like the Hallerbos in Belgium, it is filled with bluebells every single year, and as a bonus, there are hardly ever any other people there. So I figured that would be the perfect spot to take my Mamiya C33 to and see if it is fixed. For the Mamiya, I am using the standard 80mm 2.8 lens, which has been the standard lens for this camera. I also have a 135mm 4.5 lens, which I actually never shot before, but more about this later on in the video. I decided to shoot some Portra 160 that has only recently been expired, and I rated it at ISO 125. As I was shooting at a low ISO film, I didn't have much leeway concerning the aperture and the shutter speed, but that's the price we pay, I guess. I'm not much of a nature photographer, although I do have a weak spot for everything that has to do with blossoms and flowers. In a distant past, my parents actually had a flower shop, and on holidays, our living room, which was right behind the store, would be filled with flowers, as there would be so much extra stock for the special occasion. I often think about this and wish I had been into photography way back then, because I would be thrilled to photograph something like this right now. However, back then, being an annoyed little teenager, I just remember hating the flowers taking up all the space in the living room. Sometimes I do wonder if this memory has actually caused me to be so intrigued by blossoms and flowers in a later stage of my life. I brought a mirror to sneak in a few self-portraits, but it was only a small one that I could fit in my backpack. The mirror turned out to be a little bit too small for what I actually had in mind, but I did make a few shots with it nonetheless. Then I stumbled upon this little tree stump. I metered the light and it was showing 1/30th of a second at an aperture of 2.8, which is less than ideal. But then I did decide to risk it and shoot it at 1/60th of a second. The exposure turned quite alright, however there is really not much of anything in focus in this picture. In hindsight, I could have just put the camera on a tripod, which I did anyway for the next couple of shots. Then I wanted to make some sort of semi-self-portrait with my hand resting on this tree trunk. To show me the framing, Gregory actually video called me on my phone, which was kind of convenient for me to see the composition and all, but with time passing, this position became very uncomfortable for me. So yeah, by the time he actually pressed the shutter, I was very released to be able to get up from there. You know, I'm definitely not 20 anymore. Or, well, at least my body isn't. For my last photo, I thought of this idea that I got the day before of me laying in the flowers and Gregory holding up the mirror above me so I could shoot myself and the flowers in the reflection. In my mind, it looked very different from what the photo turned out like, but I do like the idea and I will definitely try this again. In this case, the mirror was definitely much too small and it was very difficult to get myself, the camera and the flowers all in the reflection, but here is the result. So overall, the camera performed well. It didn't get stuck, which was a huge relief, but I was still kind of disappointed with the focusing. So we went back another day and I tried the other lens on it, the 135mm one. And instead of Portra, I used Kodak Gold, which I also never shot before. One thing about this lens is that it is big and it makes the camera very front heavy, which makes it a bit more difficult to shoot with. So I went back to my first location by the little bridge. I wanted to get a really low angle, which is why I put the camera on this little tripod, as I was worried that I would not be able to sit steady to take the photo. The first thing I noticed is that depth of field is mighty shallow. I clearly should have used a smaller aperture here, but this is me being obviously unfamiliar with this lens. And well, I did bring a bigger mirror this time, so I had to make at least another mirror self-portrait. I did find a lot more photos to be in focus using this lens, so I don't know if that's just a coincidence or if there's actually something wrong with the 80mm lens, but for now I'll take it like this. I am very happy with my new light ceiling. I am very happy that the camera doesn't get stuck anymore, and well, to be continued. If you're still here with me at the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And hopefully I will see you in the next one. Bye!